So, morning everyone. So, welcome to the second second podcast of Hedge Cafe and Club. And I'm extremely happy and honored to have Rahul MAMMAN, my dear friend, in the hot seat today. And last time he was there as the audience. Today you are here in the hot seat. And like I said earlier, also many people sitting in the audience today has the possibility to become a hot seat here going forward. Uh, so thank you, Rahul, for accepting the invitation and being in the hot seat today. Uh, so, a little bit about Rahul. I think some of you may or may not know him. This guy, today I think he's more popular with the program after Manorama had come out with the program called Elevate, which is supposed to be the Shark Tank program of Kerala. So now he's one of the judges and he's becoming popular pretty soon. But before that, also he's popular among the entrepreneur group uh, because of two of his major businesses. One is on the medicine side, on the pharmaceutical side, as a B2B distribution wholesale distributor. He is the largest distributor in Kerala. And second thing, he has a brand called Hedge, which is the fastest growing FMCG brand in Kerala. So among the entrepreneur group, he's very popular. But now to the larger audience, he's becoming popular with the Elevate program. So welcome, Rahul, once again.
Thank you, Alex.
And to start off with the whole thing, so you had told me a story that I think when you were at my son Joshua's age, you made your mother make lime juice, and
Okay.
and you sold it for 25 paise to your friends.
Okay.
So your entrepreneurial journey or your business journey, right from selling lime juice to medicines to FMCG today, uh, in one word, one line, how do you describe that?
It's a fun journey. If there is a sentence. I'll just take 2 minutes to say. Anna pereke vetturunne. So we used to, Ammachi had this, in Pallimuk we had this house. So we used to just pluck it and go outside and sell. അപ്പം 4 പേരൊക്കെ 1 രൂപയാണ്. Then you understand ഡിമാൻഡിന് ഇങ്ങനെ വ്യത്യാസം വരും. 5 പേരൊക്കെ 1 രൂപയാക്കി. ആ പൈസ വെച്ചിട്ട് ഗ്രേപ്സ് മേടിച്ചു. അന്നേരം അത് വിറ്റു. പക്ഷേ ഇത് നടന്ന ലൈം ജ്യൂസ് വന്നൊരു പോലീസുകാരനാണ് ചോദിച്ചത്. ഫ്രണ്ട്സ് അല്ല. അപ്പം ആൾ വന്നപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ 2 രൂപ പറഞ്ഞു, പിന്നെ 1 രൂപ പോലീസിനെ മേടിച്ചിട്ട് 50 പൈസ പറഞ്ഞു. എന്നിട്ട് അമ്മച്ചിയുടെ അടുത്ത് പോയിട്ട്, അമ്മച്ചിയുടെ വീട് അവിടെ തന്നെ പള്ളിമുക്കിൽ MG മെഡിക്കൽസിന് പറയില്ല. അപ്പോൾ ലൈം എടുക്കുന്നു, പഞ്ചസാര എടുക്കുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ അമ്മച്ചി പറഞ്ഞു ഈ പൈസക്ക് കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല. പക്ഷെ അതുവരെ കോക്സ് 0 ആയിരുന്നു. അമ്മച്ചിയുടെ പേരൊക്കെ ഇത്. അങ്ങനെ പല ചെറിയ ചെറിയ ബിസിനസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ലോട്ടറി ടിക്കറ്റ് വിറ്റിട്ടുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ ഒരു ആർബിട്രാജ് കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചു. ഒരു 8th സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ് 9th സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ് ആയിരുന്നപ്പം ഈ കോയിൻസ് കറൻസി ഒന്നും ഇവിടെ എടുക്കത്തില്ല, ഫോറിൻ എക്സ്ചേഞ്ചിൽ എടുക്കത്തില്ല. $40, ദിറംസ്. അപ്പം അന്ന് ഡോളറിന് ഒരു ഉദ്ദേശം 40 രൂപ എന്ന് വെച്ചോളൂ. നമുക്ക് 6 രൂപ 7 രൂപയ്ക്ക് കോയിൻ കിട്ടും. ഞാൻ കോയിൻ കളക്ടർ സൊസൈറ്റിയിലുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അപ്പം അത് 6 രൂപ 7 രൂപയ്ക്ക് കിട്ടിയിട്ട് നമ്മൾ 8 രൂപ 9 രൂപയ്ക്ക് ഇവിടെ കൊടുക്കുമായിരുന്നു. അങ്ങനെ ചെറിയ ചെറിയ കുറേ ബിസിനസ്സുകൾ ചെയ്തു. ഒരു 10th ക്ലാസ് ആയപ്പോഴത്തേക്കും ഒരു നല്ലൊരു സേവിങ്സ്, നല്ലതെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഇൻ റിലേറ്റീവ് ടേംസ് 99-2000 ഒക്കെ ആയപ്പോൾ ഒരു സേവിങ്സ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. സോ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ചോരയിൽ കച്ചവട ടൈപ്പ് ഫീൽ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
So just like on lime juice, the lime juice to, again coming back to the story of lime juice to FMCG to medicine distribution, is there any secret ingredient you see, like hard work, strategy, or just profit margins? Is there any something secret?
I think in any business there's a lot of luck as to the level of success, but hard work is underrated. So I think working hard is something that's been in our DNA since I was a kid. So spending 12, 15, though my wife Nina would not agree to this, 15, 16 hours is something that I love doing. It's not out of compulsion, but because it's fun. So hard work, I think, is something that is generally underrated and shouted upon. If anyone says you have to work 16 hours a day, it's looked down upon. But I feel that if you want to, so the way I put it, from my philosophy at least has evolved, is if you want to be a club player, you need to practice at club level. If you want to try and be an Olympic athlete, then you have to sacrifice a lot of things. So you can't expect to be globally one of the best or whatever you look at and then expect you to have a great work-life balance. So I mean, it's great to have that if that is what you choose. I'm not saying you should do what I do, but I think hard work is the core thing. and there is a lot of luck in what you do. Like heel is accidental. It was not meant to be something, a larger thing. It was an opportunistic play, which ended up being a reasonable brand along the way. So I think hard work and luck makes a big difference, but you don't control luck too much.
Knowing you, I know that you are a big fan of margins. So with whether you get into any businesses which is having high margins or any, is that also one of the secret ingredient?
Actually, I try to build volumes and margins beyond a point. But now that once you have volumes, then you're putting a lot of pressure on improving margins. So I think I was exposed to pharma as a young age because we had this pharmacy. And because of that, I ended up getting into pharma. It is a lower margin business than most sexy businesses out there. But at scale, there is great. So we look at ROC or return on capital employed more than actual gross margins or net profit. And it's a great business at scale. So we're trying to build scale there to get it to a larger number, because it's a very unorganized market in India in terms of it's a very fragmented market. So even the largest player only has 4% market share nationally. We have 5% in Kerala. Hopefully we move to 20-30% in the next 5 years.
So just going back a little bit on your college days, so you are very few among us, where you are from SH College, you directly went to IIM Ahmedabad. Can you a little bit say about that story? Was it planned or you wanted to do that happen?
To be honest, in hindsight, we can make up a good story, but it is again something that happened because I used to spend a lot of time in this store, MG Medicals, during BCom. The every college BCom is just fun. So I spent a lot of time in all this family, extended family would ask you as to what are you doing in life? Are you not doing anything in life types? So I wrote CAT to try and get somewhere. So at that point of time, just to give you a realistic point of view, I applied to some 20 colleges. It's not like I only applied to IIMs and I was sure I'll get in. But I applied to about 20 colleges. Incidentally, there was a guy from QSAT who was also writing CAT with me. And both of us wrote. He got an IIM Bangalore and he's a successful VC today. And I got an Ahmedabad. So at that point of time, we got all 6 and it was important to get all 6, all ego boosts getting there. But those 2 years, I think even today, is like my best 2 years of my life. Great exposure. When there, being Mallu stood for PGP rep, which is a first year representative, won that. Second year stood for general secretary, which is head of the union, won that. Then interned with Goldman Sachs. Then decided not to do anything and come back and try and do something else. It was not medical distribution that I came back for. I thought I'll start a retail chain. That is the reason I came back. But that network was brilliant. 2 days back I was in Bombay. Day for yesterday I was in Bombay. I met 2 of my batchmates, and it's just great having those people talk to you, and we are very candid to each other, and everyone's very blunt, and it's good.
Just for everyone's knowledge, because see, what we know, we are part of a community called YPO, Young Presidents Organization. So we all see him as a different cognitive ability person. Because this guy, if we are thinking in speed of 10, he'll be thinking in the speed of 100. I think that is the speed at which he's in. But my question to you is, have you, do you actually know that you are a different gene altogether in terms of brilliance?
I think arithmetic I'm quite good, but when you have a wife like Nina, she makes sure you remain humble and modest, and there is no issue per se. So I think, I think that ability has been used because we had some kind of international business, and there are a lot of arbitrage opportunity when we converse in different currencies. So we make those kind of very good margins because they might, there are slippages that happen, and I think the ability to do math probably a little bit got it, but also because of the time you spend in the shop giving balances, and I think the whole family, my dad's side especially, valued a lot of education. So my dad's sister was a scientist at BABU Atomic Research Center. My dad's brother is an IIT IIM. My dad's a gold medalist. So everyone valued education. So doing a big business didn't matter to most of that family, but education mattered. So I think being forced to learn a lot and having that interest didn't make you popular in school, but I think it was good.
So since you talked about Nina, I know that Nina is doing a business on its own. So can you just elaborate a little bit on that story, Bob?
Yeah, I think she used to, how it happened was she used to buy these she's got curly hair, so she used to buy these products from all over the world, from Amazon and various other websites selling these products and try them on and all that. And at that time, this is about 21, 22, we were having Heel also do this. So I wanted her to do something. I kind of nudged her. She wanted to do it, but sometimes you need to just push someone to also do it because we had just had our second baby. And she started a brand called Sugarboo Curls. It's doing reasonably well. She didn't want me to be part of the company because then it would look like, I am involved. So she started a one-person company, so I cannot be part of the company. So she's the sole director and she's a sole shareholder. And it's quite nice. She sold it. We tried in Heel, we tried D2C. We sold a lot of product, but it didn't work from a financial point of view. But whereas for her, she's profitable from day one. I think women look at business differently than at least how I and many other men I know look at it. So the profitability, finance and all is much more in control compared to how I would do it. I mean, risk appetite is also lower, but then financial prudence is also better.
So coming back to how you started this medical distribution business, because you always had MG Medicals, which is like everyone in Cochin knows, because that MG Medicals is at the heart of the town. But when you came back after your IAM days, what prompted you to start this the distribution business, which is a different game altogether, rather than a retail game?
Yeah, so I think I will just go 1 minute into MG Medicals. So MG Medicals started in 1981, but 1990s, my dad, Appa came back from Federal Bank, he took VRS, and I was also in the shop. What we took a decision is we will keep all tail, now you would call it tail products. Any new product launched in the market, we would stock it. There was a lot of resistance to stock it. What happened is, if somebody were to go to 5-6 pharmacies and didn't get it, they would end up coming here. So that reason is how a lot of expiry increased, because you are keeping a lot of stock which you don't know what will sell. But we also kept everything and paid cash. So companies and distributors didn't mind giving us product. Whereas typically new product is kept after sale, consignment, all that. We did that, and I think that was a big thing. And secondly, there are 5 shops in a row, and we were always shut on Sundays. We never opened. So in 1999, how it worked was, one of the 4 shops on the other side or 3 shops on the other side, we opened every in the sequence. So we asked, can we also be part of that? So if we are part of it, we would open once in 5 weeks. We would not open every day, right? I mean, so it gives us less stress. But because we were somewhere else and they thought Sunday being a holiday for us, like we would not put the stress to open every day, they said, no, we can't be part of it. If you want, you open every day. So this forced us to open every day. And I used to spend all Sundays from say 99 or 2000 in the shop. And I think if you were closed 3 Sundays out of 4, then it wouldn't have worked how it worked. So keeping the tail products and opening on all Sundays made a big difference for us in terms of reputation. And we don't have parking. That store does phenomenally well with no discounting and no parking. And that is because the team has built that and continued on very well. So these people have stayed on forever. So that is that. And your question was on?
What prompted you to get into the distribution side?
How it happened was, in our campus for the first time in 2007, because 13 of us wanted to opt out, at least that was the number, we put a new rule through the management that placements you can come back for the next 2 years. Like I was Gen Secretary, Placecom guy, both of us are not going to take up placements. So we went and convinced, rather he, not even my credit. So he went and convinced the management that you could come back to campus to sit for placements in the next 2 years. Getting placements out of IIM through the campus system is kind of like your insurance, your degree is your insurance policy, but getting it is much easier than going one-to-one to different companies and trying to get placed, because it's not optimal. Here everyone is coming with an intent to hire. So that made sure that a lot of us could take out and try and figure out something on our own. So I also opted out of placements like the 13 of them. And I thought I will start a retail chain of stores. Pharma, because I only know pharma, frog in the well kind of thing. No? I want to do only pharma. I only want to do retail pharma also. So somebody I knew was doing software to a 98.4 bolke. There is a chain in Delhi. It used to be doing very well. Now it's okay. So I was called there to consult for a month or something. No money was paid to me because we were friends. Expenses were taken care of. I learned, I came back. I realized retail is very difficult. Today itself, retail is difficult in any format. Some people are cracking some part of it. Then, though, it was impossible because in pharma, unlike other FMCG and other categories, the product demand at the tail level, the last 20% differs from a 3-kilometer radius. The 80%, 90% of the thing is same. And if all of you buy medicines at some point, you like to buy all your medicines from a single location. You don't want to buy 3 from one place, 2 from some other place. So that fill rate was something that I understood was complicated, and managing pilferage, tech, all that has only evolved these days. So I do not know what to do. So 6 months from May 2007 to November, I spent as a salesman in the shop. after graduating. And in 2007, through a friend who was also in the pharma specialty business, we got into nephrology distribution, which is now in hindsight, it's high AOV recurring business, but that was not the thought. It is something that we knew. So we had to meet doctors and people who are either on dialysis or post-transplant need a certain amount of medicines every month, which is higher ticket. So I started with 0 employees in 2007. And over the years, we built a larger team. But the core started with nephrology distribution to patients and hospitals. That's how it started. And at that point of time, maybe I wanted to build a 1 crore a month business in 3 years or 4 years. That was the whole objective in life to start with.
So, how long you did that nephrology specialization?
So we did that kind of even today, but at that till only that we did about 2010-11. We had a branch in Kottayam, we had a branch in Trivandrum, and in 2006, this is what accidentally meeting people or building relationships eventually, in my experience, leads to some business at some point of time. Not with everyone, but somebody out of the larger cohort. So I had met somebody in 2006 through my professor Sunil Handa, who was working in a company called Claris. But in 2007, right after starting, nobody really travels for conferences. I went to Delhi for the national conference. There are these two guys walking around with suitcases in hand without a stall themselves also. They were just starting a pharma company. So in 2000, they said, why don't we give you distribution? I said, I only do medicines, which are specialty. These are your tablets. I might not do it. But then they said, no, you're good and all that. And 2008, we met at IIM. I had gone back there and we met for a coffee. And he gave me stocks in 2008, August. Today, that company, we do about 250 crores a year. So, and that business was built purely on an accidental relationship which happened. And so that happened in 2008. So that was also nephrology actually. And so it has all been nephrology till 2011-12, where we got into slightly other things. In 2013-14, we got into OTC, which is all your Himalaya and Dabur and those kind of distribution we got in 2015. But primary focus has always been nephrology. But when we started other things, nephrology, we have kind of lost market share and we are trying to revive it now. Because now it's a very touch-heavy business from the top manager.
Like in 2025, let's just assume that 2025 today, if you rewind and you are at that age where you finish your IIM today, would you restart the whole business like this?
It's a very good question. And this is year 2007?
No, 2025, today.
Yeah, so I think I would take funds on day zero because it's not very difficult to raise funds and you can scale much faster. Then it was probably access was not that easy. But today, I think I would take money on day zero with an idea rather than anything else. I think that's the only thing that would change because it's just available there and you should take money, and which we have not really taken so much. So.
But on the business, you would do the same business. Distribution itself?
I mean, given I have this accumulated knowledge, so if I'm, let's put it this way, if I'm starting from zero today, and I had money, I would still do distribution because I understand there's some learned knowledge that's built in. But I will not do a tech company because I don't understand tech. Just because it's hot doesn't mean that I would do it because, so how I look at it, I would still do this probably. Maybe also figure out some niches in this and go scale there. I would not spread myself thin. I would probably do a niche and go national or something. Like I would do specialty medicines like nephrology and oncology, but do national. So there is still a player that can happen. There are one or two which got acquired by pharmacy and that's gone not in good shape.
So basically what you're saying is you will focus on your key area of expertise, but you will raise funds and do it rather than putting your own money there.
No, if I had own money, I would put all my money in it. That's how I.
No, assume that you don't have money
because
end of the day you don't have money.
Raise money. It's not that I would keep my personal money.
You will not start with a very small capital and do that.
I think money is out there and people are looking to allocate, and it is only smart to take money, but philosophies have to change because maybe I should have been in Bombay. I mean, I would start in Bombay then Cochin maybe because then your thought process might change from a.
And now coming to on your accidental entry into FMCG business. I know that during COVID years only you started selling sanitizers, tissue boxes and all. Can you explain more on that? How do you land there?
Yeah, so 2020 we started a pharmacy, 24-hour pharmacy inside Kalmasheri metro station premises, which is on the highway. So there what happened is it is doing okay. So I went there And I was sitting there, so the 3M guy came there, and sanitizer is not big in Jan or Feb. I don't know which Feb, maybe it's Jan 2020. So they asked us to take sanitizers. So in our distribution, so we took sanitizer and kept it. We could see the data of the stock sales going up really fast. It was just insane.
Yeah.
And because the 2-3M guys, on like one of them was a Rotary friend of mine, and the other one was somebody I knew. So we kept getting stock first. So because of that, we realized this is going up. We do not know much. So what I did was I had 3-4 of my key employees go to various factories in these places in Baddi and Surat and Hyderabad and 3-4 places, and all allocated stock was given to us for some other day, somebody else's brand. It's not 3M. I'm talking about random brands which were, because sanitizer you just had to make and sell. Like there's been a day in MG Medicals where we have sold like 1,000 bills of sanitizers. Not talking 1,000 units to some one bulk customers. This was in Feb and March where you didn't really need the sanitizer, but everyone was buying a sanitizer. So it was kind of the time when there was no real corona except for those isolated cases. So we were getting these stocks as quickly as possible. So what differentiated us from a competition, because it's just not us, there are other people. You could not really airlift alcohol. We managed to do that for 100 ml somewhere, but alcohol is considered to be, different material. And what happened was competition was ordering this once a week, because you have a lead time of 7 days from the truck to reach here, or 6 days. Stock reaches here, they sell, they place a next order. What we did is we ordered for every day. So we had a truck leaving there every day. So at any point of time, there were 6 or 7 trucks in transit. So this is risky, because when Modi ji announced lockdown and price control, they put the prices down. We lost quite a bit of money that we had made, but which also ensured we were the only people with reasonable stocks. So that's how we were doing is. And when COVID happened, proper lockdown happened, we thought, why not use a brand Heal? We already had a brand called Heal Pharma for medicines. So why not use that and launch sanitizers, which was meant to, who thought COVID is going to last for months or years? It was 1 month, 2 month. Now we will say, yeah, we knew, but at that point of time, we thought it was going to be a 1 month phenomenon. So it was a trading opportunity that we did. It was not a brand, we were not building anything. So I was at Manish's house that day, one of the days when we were talking. It was meant to be an opportunistic play, it was not meant to be anything else. But after 4 or 5 months, we were making reasonably good money on these sanitizers, but also losing money on importing infrared and pulse oximeters, because prices are dropping faster than any. So during COVID, if you bought an infrared at 6,000 rupees, every month or every 10 days, there was a price drop of 20%. So if your consignment got stuck anywhere, so every time we were buying and selling here, we were selling at a lower price than what we had bought it by a huge margin. But we thought the next batch will make money. But prices dropped till 600. So we never really made money on those products. So COVID, very few people made money on all the ancillary products, though it looks very hot from the outside. But sanitizers, we did okay. Then with that money, since I did not know marketing, because we thought marketing and HR and all, now today I changed my view, but thought it was just not really important courses in life, marketing and especially HR, I thought was not important, which I completely understand is very important. So we started doing all ad hoc things. So you're supposed to, in marketing, you're supposed to spend 30% on TV or 20% on print, 10%, all the split. I didn't know anything. I spent everything on whatever I liked. So I spent on outdoor hoardings, 200 boards and 300 small boards. So 500 boards were there. And so what happened is we got a very reasonable rate because nobody was taking boards then, which industry could advertise at that time. And secondly, most of the boards are empty. So we got lower price and lesser boards, which meant I wouldn't put a number on it, but a much higher impact on the ads. And then I didn't know much. Kerala Blasters, let's sponsor them because they're at 1/3, they're at a lower price in terms of... maybe I did that part, but I don't want to. Yeah, so they were at a lower price. So let's do that. We negotiated so much collaterals because they didn't know what they were negotiating, and we had 50 posts on their social media handles, some 30 stories. A lot of things we got out of that. Then we thought, I don't know why, we thought we were in wellness and fitness kind of thing. So let's go and figure out who could be the next person. So let's go and make Sanju Samson a brand ambassador. And that's how that happened. And then I understood this is all ad hoc, and I was talking to this, earlier I mentioned about this guy who got an IIM Bangalore. He's a partner at Fireside. So I talked to him and he said, what you're doing is just almost white label, or it's not really a brand play. And he said, do ABC. And 2 weeks later I called him and he said, you just don't get it. Let me introduce you to somebody. And then he introduced me to somebody called Aishwarya. And Aishwarya came on board as a consultant. And with Aishwarya came a bunch of friends of hers, or contractors, let's say, who did a lot of parts of it. It was very expensive. A lot of money was spent. But I think that's what actually created the brand. The first round of the hoardings created awareness. But from a brand feel point of view, I think that happened because of the creatives, that the money you spent. A lot of people spend a lot of money on distribution of the ads. But I think spending disproportionate money on the content is also important. But just spending on the content alone doesn't work. You need a lot of distribution. But people underestimate the amount you need to spend on getting the content right. Just because you spend a lot of money on content also, you don't necessarily get the content right. So we had one of the best designers in the world types. They worked for the best agencies. Aishwarya was head of Ola marketing, before that Unilever, so she was good. So I think that is how that brand, from a branding perspective, became, and I understood a lot of things. So because we were spending a lot of money on all these calls, which I found to be too many, but on these stand-ups, I used to say this is almost like a executive MBA that I'm going through, what I'm paying you guys. So I am learning a lot. So till then, I think, I discount certain things I say, but in general, a lot of things were learned. And it has been a great thing. Eventually, we incubated a company called Unbottle, or Tuco, which it is called today, under Heel. And then we did shifted it out to a different company. She raised VC. I was also part of it. I got secondary. So it's been a decent journey.
So the title of the program is actually, title of this today's session is called Two Hats, One Entrepreneur. And two hats in the sense it is, one is your primary is the B2B business and the second one is a D2C business. So Rahul, when you wake up, which hat you will wear?
Which hat you wear?
It's very difficult to wear both hats, no? Because B2B angle of business is different, D2C angle is different.
Yeah, I think it's two different ball games. My friend was referring to paddle. That's what takes up most of my mind space. But I think my mind takes up distribution business first. It's much larger scale. And making money there has helped us invest in the brand. And now, thankfully, the brand is just about profitable. Maybe from 2 months, it will be reasonably good profits. But I think the distribution business should take key from that point of view, that it can generate money. The other one was probably all money was generated. Some money friends and family have put in, but 95% of the money has been put in through the distribution business. So my mind space goes there. And but everything I do, talking to people or being publicly this thing, I think I've cut down all marketing spend. So this is my marketing spend. So talking to people, meeting people, that is the only way I'm spending in the last 4-5 months other than point of sale marketing. Like at the store level, we need to take some display. But other than that, all ads have been kind of cut because I think ads are great, but you need to monetize it also. So in our business, what I think of is how do I increase distribution network in pharma also, and how do I leverage that also partially for FMCG, but my mind space is mostly for distribution.
The B2B business.
B2B business.
That is your primary hat. What you would like to.
Yeah.
And so, for disclosure names, we are also that so-called family and friends who had put in some money.
There are 3 of my shareholders sitting here.
So the reason why we had put in the money is purely based on what you are hearing him. This is his cognitive capacity. I'm using this word again and again because this thinking space and mind space, the speed at which he's talking also is a little bit too much. I think you should little bit slow down for people to catch up to what they are ready. So the speed at which he thinks, the speed at which he talks, everything is completely what we cannot fathom. So this is why we had invested. So Rahul, my question to you on the D2C side, what is your game plan? So I know that you were running 250 SKUs at some point of time.
Yeah, which is bad.
And is it a top line game? Is it a bottom line game? Is it a valuation game?
Yeah.
So B2B, I know very clear that you have been specifically said that is your profit game. It's a very clear game. D2C, what is your game?
So D2C, initially I thought I'll just build volume very fast. But you realize we need very large, deep pockets to build it. And then we also need a much higher margin profile blend to actually spend out of pocket if you need to. So we've been initially chased top line and we thought we will do D2C, which failed because direct online did not make sense, because if you're selling 250 rupee product and spending 200 rupees to get the customer, repeat customers don't really exist beyond a point because there are so many options out there. So that kind of did not work. And then we thought, okay, let's now after spending a lot of money, losing whatever money, we've realized that we have to become profitable. So last 2 quarters, we've been pushing for profitability. Last month, we were barely profitable, but by June, we should have, say, what 7 or 8% EBITDA positivity. But what I've also realized, I was talking to a friend, I was in Ahmedabad for one of the B2B meetings. So there, one of my friends, my professor's daughter and her husband, both of them run a company called Baker's Dozen. And 95% of their revenue comes from quick commerce. Yeah. By virtue of not being quick commerce friendly state, so to speak, Kerala for geographical or whatever reasons, I could not get into that boat or bus at the right time when it was very early. Now it's become a very gated place to get in. So I am trying to get in somehow, and we got into Swiggy last month, and this month we've got some 7 or 8 smaller POs for Kerala. So quick commerce happens, we might suddenly grow 3-4x because whoever is doing, say, we're doing about 3-4 crores offline every month, 3.5 crores. Quick commerce is about 4x of offline for most of these people. And quick commerce unit economics makes sense, whereas e-commerce does not. But so we could be a 200 crore heel company also, I mean, across our brands if we were properly on quick com. So to make that happen, I go to Zepto in Bangalore. And if I tell them for heel, they're not going to listen. So but they're doing pharma and they need to get a good distributor. So I become back-end supplier for Zepto, one of their 7 or 8 preferred distributors for the region, South India. And with that, I'm trying to make a deal, though the teams are different, so that we also get the products listed. So I think we have to come. And I met this friend of mine again, VC. He said, he's having this conversation that why don't you look at maybe take money from me eventually, a year or something. I said, I'll give you sweat equity if you get me into all quick com. Because if you're going to be 3x, I don't mind parting with 10% of this thing. You don't need to invest because I don't want to go through this jumping through hoops of DD beyond a point. So I think quick commerce is our future. And growing profitably is the only way we can do it, considering we have 2 businesses. If we were to just sell off the B2B business and go all in, then I would raise and figure out something. When you're in 2 boats, no investor wants to bet beyond a point on you. You would rather be on one of them. And because there's only so much money being generated in B2B, which needs to be reinvested there because it's growing at reasonably good speed, I am limited from a risk capital point of view. But for working capital, there's no major risk.
So the game plan is grow with profitability.
Grow profitability, be open to a sellout, but idea is not to sell out, but not stupid enough not to sell if there is an opportunity.
Okay, now let's deviate a little bit from the core business topic to the newfound the new hat you are wearing today as a Shark Tank, like as one of the Manorama thing in Elevate. So now you have become one of the sharks in Kerala. Which one you like more, running your business or grilling the new entrepreneurs?
I think running the business is much more fun. Mentoring entrepreneurs one-to-one is more fun. But this has got a dual benefit of getting more startups to start. And from a personal level, probably some benefit for Heel. I mean, very selfishly. So I think that is my marketing perspective, right? So what I've seen happen is when you have these, even in Heel, innovation is being on the store shelf. If you're not on the store shelf, there's nothing that you can do, how much ever ad you do. But you do a lot of ads to get on the store shelf also. But I think that friction to get into stores reduces when you do these things is what I feel. And I could see some of it in action. And hopefully that would, when you go to places, it should change.
So going back to your lime juice days, will you pitch that? I know that you had invested in a halwa company through Elevate. So that Fulva halwa, that from Calicut.
Yeah, Calicut does that.
Going back to your lime juice days, if you would have pitched it in Elevate today, selling lime juice?
Not lime juice. I think, okay, good question. So I think I would go to Elevate if my brand also needs visibility. To get money, there are various ways to get money. But if for Fulva, the brand visibility increased traffic on the website by 2-3x when the episode was aired. And it must be because it's a sustained viewing over a few weeks and all that, there must be some increased interest. More importantly, I spend a lot of time talking to them regularly. my selfish interest is by next year, when the next season, if it comes, they should have grown 3-4x. So it looks like, there is a case study there that I've done, because I offered much lower terms than somebody else, but valuation was higher. But so I think it made sense for them. So if my product if it was B2B, I would not go there. If it was a business where the visibility helped, I might go to Elevate.
You would have gone to the Elevate
or whatever the platform is, where the visibility is going. The visibility value is much more than the money. But what's happened because of the visibility in that particular case is because they're from North Kerala also, there's much easier cash available in terms of investment. People are more, they like helping people much faster. A lot of offers for investments have come to them already. They've said no. Yesterday I was on a con call with one of our common friends who's trying to use his family office to put money. So I think that kind of things will happen because of that visibility. If they never came and it was a private deal, it wouldn't have happened.
Good. And coming to a newfound love, which is paddle. There is a new game in town. It's called paddle, paddle tennis. I think you only started. I think you gave
after friends
started, but you were part of that the whole Gamma sports where it started.
Yeah,
so now I know that you have reduced 8 kilos, and you have won a tournament in Bangalore. So what is it going? What is happening there?
I think all my life I've sucked at sports, though I've tried really hard. So we used to have a lot of amateur teams. We had friends of us had Kochi Kids League, which is football, I think, and then we had badminton teams and all that. Everything. So we were having a proxy for sports because you're limited in your game ability by owning amateur small teams, which no real money, but it is just fun. But and most sports, I play badminton every day, but I'm really bad. So for some reason, paddle started at the same time for everyone, and I worked doubly or triply hard than everyone else to play the sport. So I became better than average. Still average, but better than average, because you don't have a sports skill per se, but it's a little bit more of placing the ball in various locations. It's some part of it is thinking also. So I become reasonably good, and it's most importantly it's helped me lose weight. And there's a long way to go, another maybe 2 years to hit where I want to hit. But that has been great because one is 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever I do split across the day is without the phone. I think without the phone is great for your resting heart rate and all of those things, and your sleep quality and stuff like that. So I think that's been great, and it's a de-stressor, and it's a good bunch of friends. In badminton also have a good bunch of friends, but when you suck, it's not great because, there's a social hierarchy there. So whereas when you're better at paddle, it's better. So that's what's happened. And we went to Bangalore and we played this amateur tournament. There's some 10 teams, and it is good to win. And then they put us in the pro level where we didn't, advanced level is really bad. So,
but that you were always, always liked sports. But for some reason, you couldn't excel in that. But today, you are doing something different. Is it helping you in your business also?
Yeah, I think...
mentally, physically, and energy levels?
Mentally, it's completely different. So I think I've now taken my body as a company and trying to work on it 360 degrees. So I have a nutrition coach, common friend's daughter. I have fitness related this thing. Then I've got paddle training. And then I'm working on sleep and meditation and all those kind of things. So it's complete. And when you see the numbers changing, it's great. That's one. Secondly, I only fly economy. I don't fly any other class. So my economy seats were tough earlier. Now it's become premium economy. In 2 years, maybe business class. I mean, the same seat, you know what I mean? So I think that's been great. And I'm also doing a little bit of 14-hour intermittent fasting. And I thought I could never do it. But when you change your food composition also through the day, what's happened is thought process becomes clearer, sleep is deeper, and I think decisions are better. Because as businesses, you take few decisions a day, not as operating this thing, but as a thing. So, and that clarity kind of helps. So this has only been a 3-4 month phenomenon. Hopefully it continues.
So a little bit on the YPO side of business, because young presence organizations, we have actually figured it out, because YPO is a community where you can, it's basically a co-learning environment where we have seen you attending conferences. I think earlier also you said you attend conferences for your pharmaceutical business. So in YPO also we have global conferences happening everywhere, every time. So this is one guy who will attend all kind of conferences.
I have a
No
partner in
matter
crime, but
whether it is there is interest of business of also. Like what is your thought process of attending conferences which is not even your area of
that we did
business?
once to help a friend who didn't turn up for that conference. But otherwise, I attend mostly things I like to learn about. But
But you ended up in a manufacturing business.
construction
Construction
in Copenhagen.
business.
So I think it is a quest to learn. It's so much fun to learn. So when we had the opportunity to learn, we learned because we had to. Now I learn because I want to. So it's just a little different. So I think learn anything new is just fun for fun's sake. So learning is fun. So we're going to Paris next next month for 7 days to do this course by different profs from across this thing. So learning is great. Some of them are really bad. Some of these ones we went last year in Cambridge was a lot of money but not worth it. So, but only if you go, you know. But some curated ones and ones that have a reputation, it's great. So in YPO we have this forum wala thing where you have 7 or 8 people, which is great. But everyone, when they pitched to me in 2017, 18, early 18, is that they talked about that. But I would rate the international exposure that you go for these conferences as good as forums, but very few people in the region, in the South Asia region, actually use it. So the people who go regularly, but very few do. So you end up meeting people from all around the world who are equally driven and who are running reasonable businesses. So I think the drive is different from different people. But when you go for these international learning events, I think the drive is pretty much in a similar kind of level in many cases. And that's been great learning.
And the networking possibilities, have you used or have you experienced that?
I have experienced that. The portal now changes us from not searching properly, but any country I used to visit, I would just search for somebody in pharma. In Istanbul, I just went and met somebody. She was like a 65-year-old lady in IPO. Her son is also a member. I met and they do a Strepsils equivalent, the largest in Turkey. We spent like 2-3 hours and then breakfast with the son and all that. In Colombo, when I went, I met a pharma distributor. So wherever I go, I try to look up people and just meet. And I'm shameless about asking favors. So one of my employees left and joined one of our friends' companies. And he asked her, what did you learn from me? Be shameless about asking favors. I think I'm pretty shameless about asking favors.
No, basically what you're saying is like attending conferences, not only I'm talking about only YPO because YPO is bigger than us, but attending conferences is basically your quest to learn, quest to keep on engaging with the current world.
Yeah, I have attended 8 or 9 of these pharma conference in Medica, Düsseldorf, and I've not done a single rupee of business in the sector that I go for. It is surgicals, but that learning will come across somewhere. You cannot, when you have a conversation with people, within that sector, having a broad range of knowledge is always useful. So I think going for conferences will lead to knowledge, but let us be selfish and think of it as business also. But if you think of it as only business, then you will not do well. The business will happen if you have knowledge and the intent, but going there thinking, others have to stop moving to Medica after the second year. So you keep going even after COVID, I've gone once, not often because it's not frequent like before because I don't do it. But what happens, for example, just from a Medica point of view, which is our pharma conference, in Düsseldorf, people who come there are SME companies, like 100 to 500 crore kind of companies, and the owners sit there. So to meet these people individually in other places, you don't have access because it's not going to be easy, it'll be gated. And secondly, you'll have to go to multiple places. So making a relationship with these companies or people are much easier during conferences.
So before opening the floor to the questions, just one last question from my side on, like, what will be your one advice to the budding entrepreneurs in current world?
So I see a lot of startups trying to go for perfection. I think start something and iterate and figure out because you always end up being somewhere else from where you started. One. And secondly, at idea stage, if you don't have to come and ask, if it's some very capital intensive idea, you can raise money. But if you have to raise money, you should raise probably from friends and family, what I say, until you reach at least a few lakhs a month revenue. Because I'm part of CAN and people come to us also. Though people don't like it, they all want us to start at zero revenue also. But I think some money your friends and family should invest. It's a great signal to show that there is some trust at least, or there's so much of grants also available. So I think figure out to raise money very internally possible. The best source of funds is profits. These two things. Source of funds, best is profits if you can. I just race closely and also launch something and iterate rather than wait for the perfect product, because I don't think it's very rare to find that kind of profession.
So thank you, Rahul. So we'll open the floor for questions.
Wait, exit from tea today, what would you start? Where do you see the opportunity as young Rahul? Where would you start?
Yeah, if I were to just quit Heal, I would just put that money back, give my investors a good IRR, and put the rest of the money back in the distribution business. But if it is a new sector per se, tough question, but if I had a reasonably good liquidity event, I might start a fund. I think if you play it right, there's a lot of money to be made with the right kind of investments, because you put in your capital, you can leverage. Actually, it's very low risk. I was thinking it's you get, because I'm talking to early stage PEs for my distribution. So you get 2 and whatever, right? It's just, if you play it smart, you can make some money. Everyone is starting a fund. They'll have this major fund. The next, then just, split. That person leaves the company, then you start a fund, because you know everyone. There's a lot of money to be allocated, and that is something that I would think of. But be an operating fund rather than just like at an earlier stage, not a PE, or be more of an operating, not idea seed stage, but some validation at that level is what I would probably look at.
Elevate experience, you can do it now.
Do what?
With Elevate experience, you can do it again.
You can
The
do
fund.
it right now, you can start what you're saying.
Yeah,
fund.
I think in my journey,
You like to invest, that's why.
money. So I think in my journey, I've done a lot of things, like a lot of SKUs, a lot of different businesses. I've realized less is better from a financial outcome point of view. So I would not start anything new right now, even not launch a new brand. Everything has to fit in with that ecosystem. So I don't think doing a fund right now would do justice. There are 2 things I wanted to do actually. One was when I came back from campus, was be Chief Minister of Kerala. Not PM somehow, but not that ambitious. Second was be a professor at IIM after 50. So I think the second one still is open. So yeah. So
Where do you see your distribution company in the next few years?
yeah. So for us to be relevant, I think we might need to scale faster than what we are growing at some 30% on a largish base from a regional point of view. But if you want to be relevant, we need to be in 5 years of significant size. And if you have to achieve that, then we will need external capital. So in 5 years, we could be quite big without money, but irrelevant from a national perspective, or raise money and be reasonably relevant, because without being relevant, you have a better chance of survival if you're relevant from a national point of view. So I think we might get money. If you do, then we've been in talks, and I was there day for yesterday also. So if that happens, then that will happen. But distribution is going to get consolidated. Just like how small textiles and jewelries kind of got out, I think consolidation is here to stay. And so I'm trying to reach out to Amazon, Zepto to try and be their backend also. It's very risky because that business will just probably shift at some point of time. It's not very stable business. But if I don't give it, somebody else will. I rather give it now and ride the wave and figure out along the way. And so I think distribution business is going to become much more consolidated, with largest player being Apollo Keymed at 4.8%, and then Entero, which is a listed company, at about 3% of the national market. I think that is very small. US is about 90% for top three, 95%. In other places, it's top 3 have 40-45%. So I think we at 5% in Kerala can become 30-40%, and in 5 years it will become 15,000 crores, 16,000 crores just in Kerala. So if we don't raise money, we will not go out of Kerala because it's just imprudent, because we don't have too much money, or lack of growth opportunities are not there. There is growth opportunity. So I think we would be by far the largest market share player in a state in 5 years for sure, with or without funds. Whether we'll be nationally relevant or not, I don't know.
Did you ever suffer from perfectionism in your career?
I am in no way, my friends, no way close to perfection. So I don't have that issue at all.
It's actually a 3-part question.
Yeah, sorry.
In your early days, did you suffer from perfectionism?
I had a friend who was.
He's finishing.
Sorry for stopping you.
No, it's okay. If you did, how did you? Was there an event where you realized that perfectionism itself
is a curse rather than a blessing?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a specific instance.
It doesn't have to be an event per se. You just learn over time horizon.
Yeah. So in business, in various aspects, like for example, in this marketing for Heal and all that, these people used to spend so much time intellectually discussing these creatives beyond a point, and this never got released. And there were so many stand-up calls, and I don't think the consumers care where a dot or this thing comes beyond a point. So you will find the creative people caring a lot about it. I mean, basic grammar should be correct. I'm not questioning that. But beyond that, that incremental benefit of spending so much time intellectualizing something, I don't see that much value coming out. So I have always been of getting minimum viable product out somewhere in any kind of sector or segment or whatever it is, and learning from failures, because perfect also will fail. Perfect is to you. It is not necessarily for the market. So we would always get it out and learn. But I have had enough counterparties or associates in various parts of the business where they look at perfection as that's the only way to do. So it slows you down. I'm not saying it's wrong, but maybe if you're a chef and you're in the highest end restaurant, perfection makes sense. If you're in the creative field, it might. But in things we do, I don't think it matters too much. But if you're doing a chemist store, then like MG Medicals, I think perfection matters. We can't dispense the wrong medicine. I mean, at the base level, that's not a possibility. I mean, it shouldn't happen. At the B2B level, I can give the wrong medicine to a store. It doesn't really matter. I have to just correct it. But it clogs the system and those things happen frequently. But it's not as much as a problem as a retail. Because retail, if I give the wrong medicine, I think it's like you go for a tummy upset and they give you for constipation itself, it's like, that itself is like diametrically opposite. So, because you just said tummy problem, people just come and just say that, and you could give the wrong dispensation. It's not very complicated. So,
I just have one more.
please, sir.
So, if do you have so when you're running a business, when you take decisions on a business, is there a point where you think, okay, this is enough, you don't have to go further than that, or rather, how do you ascertain that?
Yeah, so I rarely pass on. I've grown in the distribution business and even in Heal through inorganic a bit in terms of buying brands or companies. So I generally don't say no to anything. I try and figure out how to do the deal. And I structure in a way that the payouts, like we just took a stake in some particular pharma, this thing, wherein we pay out in the next 2-3 years, but stake is at priced in today. So similarly, I used to do all deals that comes to me if it made sense. Not that I used to do all deals, but any sensible deal I used to do. So last 6 months, 7 months back, guys came to sell their distribution business to us. Rather, we had this discussion. It was an excellent business. But I was already kind of stretched in terms of finances because the existing businesses were growing very fast. So it was a very hard thing to do, but I said no then. And today when I'm like the cash flow is even better in terms of I can figure out how to pay, I went to them, they sold to somebody else. So I regret it a bit, but these are the few times when I've said no, but last 6 months my health has improved a lot. If I did that deal, I think I'd be +5 instead of -8. So I think that health over wealth wala scene ho gaya.
So I connect you with the brand like Squad. So how is the business growing and how do you catch up with the brands that are already been established in the
Yeah. So Squad has been an acquisition for us. And what happened was we could have launched powder and soap and liquid. So liquid, even today, is just gaining market share, but gaining very fast now. But about a year and a half, 2 years back, when we kind of focused on liquid, we thought, let's just look at liquid and grow that category and be very clear that we'll only do liquid. So we don't have Scott powder, we don't have soap. So we are trying to build the product where the market is going to be maybe 4-5 years from now. It's already going very fast, but 4-5 years from now, it should become the larger category. So when it's clear focus, from 250, 400, 300 SKUs, we had to now 60, 70 across the brands. I think focus has helped us grow faster. Ironically, lesser products means better growth. You would think it's counterintuitive because we initially built a large tail for online. With Squad, what has happened for us is we played the price game, to be honest. So we played price and we are selling about 300 tons a month, which is so from being no part of our turnover to about 50% of our turnover now comes from Squad. And wherever we place it, we sell. But our issue is in terms of getting into more places. Like, so we are trying to get into other parts. So Lulu, wherever they are nationally, we are getting in. But we are trying to get into other places also, like quick commerce to start with. And then maybe DMart. We are in some parts of Tamil Nadu. So Squad, I think, is if you look at, I think in 5 years, we would be known as Squad. Even now, for example, Lulu used to send the larger players, Bismi, Reliance, used to send us orders saying heal.pdf. Now it's become scott.pdf. So internally we are becoming, from a B2B perspective, we are being known more as a Scott company than Heal. Though from a public perspective, Heal still lingers, though we don't really have too many products out there.
I have a question for both of you because the experiences that you carry. Something that someone said, or something that you read that has changed your perspective about life and work.
Alex should go first, no?
No.
So I think I've got many things I can think of, but one specific thing which might not sound very out there is that most of my employees are blue collar employees, or like people with 20 to 30, 40K kind of range. We have higher level people also, but in the distribution business, it's like that. 20, 30K is typical band, max, around that. So these people don't have access to capital when they need it urgently. So one of my profs, again in Ahmedabad, that couple, that daughter's father, who was also my prof, who also introduced me to that large company. So it's like a very influential person in my life. So he said, give your employees money as soon as possible and make sure that, so we have a policy, like today we are approving some 6 or 7 micro loans at no interest. It's more like a salary advance because we are not supposed to lend money. So no interest, salary advance, and 2 people have to verbally and on paper sign something. So I think doing that, we have a reasonably good loan book of some money, but it's very useful for them because of apps these days, people get money very easily, but then they get into the trap. So I think that is one thing that is high impact. You should do charity within your organization rather than go out and do, because our people are needing a lot of things here. So that's what I do. That's what been one thing that has been influenced.
Should I answer? No, for me it's I think it's mostly one key learning I've said is the passion and persistence is always there. And because we start with, I personally start a lot of businesses or a lot of things with pure passion, but passion will not take you there because passion is a different thing altogether. So when you want to make it as a business, it has to be treated like a business, and there has to be a lot of processes in place, backend in place. I think the key learning for me in business and life is all about process than progress. I think Rahul also touched upon the concept, on his health issue, on how he is treating his body as a company today. So what is it? It's all about the process, rather than the progress will come later. The process is getting up at certain time, going for that workout, doing eating habits and this thing. The same thing. I think that applies to every part of the discipline part is very much in place for whether it is life, business, or anything for that matter. I think that is when you talk about only passion is all about you are having a affection or a infatuation or something like that. So passion doesn't work unless otherwise you put in a process in place. Just by wishful thinking, it doesn't make sense. That's my learning over the years.
Someone who is looking for setting up a career, say a 60-year-old or a guy, what would be your advice? You are you as a well-wisher, what would be your?
Yeah, this is a good question.
In the current thing,
Yeah.
he's looking at say around get something in the next 5 years. If it was your son, what would it be like?
Yeah, my son.
Advice to the kids. It's applicable for
I feel
everyone.
old now, but let's go. But I think, I don't know, AI everyone talks about, I'm not going to go there and all that, but I keep wondering to myself, what will a doctor do 20 years from now? Or a lawyer do 20 years from now when requirement might reduce as my gut feel. I don't know. But what I would do, at least from a career perspective, is at least you should do is if you are a 16-year-old and you're going to be an engineer or a doctor, whatever you think you're going to do, tag along with a professional in that field for at least few days and see if that is what you want to do. People are just deciding what they want to do with absolutely no exposure to what they're going to do. I think spending, if I were going to be a lawyer, for example, then I would spend maybe 2-3 days with a lawyer. That's what I would tell you to do rather than not, because it's so easy to, because people are disillusioned along the educational journey at that undergrad level in many cases. And at least knowing that might not necessarily change it for you in terms of the direction when you go, but at least you know what you're doing. Otherwise, what you're doing is just you feel like this is what your friends have told you it's nice. So what I do is I want my son to do a business eventually. So I'm trying to get him to go to businesses, but I'm very clear that you'll never get to run the business here and we'll give you capital to run something, because that has to be clear. Because otherwise, when you talk to a lot of people, they think no. So that he's 9 years old. No? I'm just telling you. So 9 years old, I'm just trying to teach him a lot of things about business. He understands a lot of things, but somehow it revolves around money because he watches Mr. Beast a lot, and I am trying to take out this money component out of it, because money should be the byproduct. I mean, you can try to influence the kids at this age. No? So I think, yeah, giving them. So for my son, I try to give them as much exposure as possible. I tried to get him to come here today, but he didn't. I was somewhere else, so it was just not easy to get it done. So getting them to be exposed to the sector that, I mean, I can only nudge because he should do what he wants. Wife would not agree. So I think that's.
Just to add to that point, because one is Rahul had said on the giving exposure. So my take on that is, once you fix the exposure, then obviously in current world you cannot be jack of all trades. You have to be master of something, because Rahul itself had pointed out saying that doing less is more important than doing more today. So whatever you having exposure to different levels is always good, but once you fix that exposure, you try to be master of that particular trait, is what I feel like. That is what we are trying to tell our kids also on the same.
So going forward, I think that D2C business, D2C business.
I can hear you. Yeah.
That will increase a lot. So
You think?
D2C business
Yeah, okay.
also will be good,
Yeah.
the direct consumer.
It should, but I'm not. I mean, please.
Yeah, that case, Kerala, I can see a lot of middlemen are there in most of the business, like brokers, commission.
Intermediaries.
So what will be their future?
Sure. So as a distributor of medicines, I consider myself an intermediary, and I keep asking this question. But I think D2C, last episode for cars, I think could be much. I think in this case, D2C is growing, but it is still a small percentage, and eventually it might change quite a bit more. But from present value of money you can make point of view, I think doing what you're doing is fine. From intermediaries will remain in many cases. Like you have 99 acres, but you still have good brokers. But you'll have to evolve to be a good one. You can't just be somebody with just 5 classified ads with you. So I think D2C has got some small percentage. It'll keep growing. But D2C itself is a very competitive business. If you notice, most of the D2C brands are going for distribution now. They're trying to figure out how to scale only through, because 80-90% of the market, quick commerce is still taking up some market share, but it's nothing. In terms of the larger perspective, so it's taking up a lot of growth. Like Unilever has not been growing for the last few years in that kind of pace at which it should grow. So it'll take away growth, but market is going to remain still for the next 5-10 years. Composition will change.
That type will be unchanging.
Yeah, like how we do liquid, because we think liquid is going to be big, so we bet there, because that we understand. Just because D2C is going to grow, but if our DNA is not D2C, and then I would not do that. I am not going to try and compete with Amazon, because that's not my competence, and I would never beat them, even if, like, Flipkart is probably competing at some level. But I'm saying otherwise, with only 1 or 2 in tech, there's typically 1 or 2 winner takes all in that category. Whereas for us, I think there are multiple players possible. So we would stick to what we're doing. Intermediaries will always get disintermediated in all categories, and you need to figure out how to do it. So how I look at it from a B2B point of view is, we will be the last distributors to shut down in Kerala. And that's all we can do. We may get shut down, but we would be the last people to be shut down. Which means there's enough rope, right? I mean, we would react by the time 50% of the people are shut down. We would take a decision then. But we are building ourselves to be the last person to shut down. And ironically, when more and more of the intermediaries get shut down, the market share of the existing intermediaries actually increase. Which means you have to look at it from a selfish single unit point of view. Your share would increase if intermediaries shut down if you are the better one, is how I look at it.
Correct. Any last couple of questions? Then we'll wrap up.
Hi, Deepu.
When you decided to start the business, right? And you had your roots in Kerala, and you decided to start in Kerala itself. Do you think that if the location was different, the
I think so. I think different places. If I were in Bangalore, I might have raised money in whatever sector I went into, because you are a sum of the 10 or 15 people you are surrounding yourself with. So if I were in Bangalore, I might have raised money. If I were in Bombay, I would have thought of some business at larger scale in terms of access to different kinds of capital. So I think depending on where you are, the good point of starting in Kerala is now you can do business anywhere in the world. Because once you learn to do business in Kerala, it's become much easier to do business anywhere. So in hindsight, I will still do it here because I'm happy. If I do not have a family and I was single, then I would do it anywhere also. But if you want to be close to your parents, and which is all incidental by being here, but and you have a good social structure and you're happy here, I would do it here. But if only objective was just the business, then I might relocate. These are things I've always thought of along the way also, in the last few years also. Like maybe should I go to the GCC, sit there and figure out how to grow the brand there, because it's much easier to operate in an organized market than here, and then spend a lot of time in the Gulf and realize that should have been in the Gulf 10 years, 15 years ahead, but then should be in India 15 years from now, which means you should be here today. So then India seems to be the right place to be. And that's how I decided. So I've evaluated this in the last few years. We have a close friend who was in Dubai who keeps saying you should relocate to Dubai. But this is what makes sense for us.
So, what's the most interesting consumer trend you have observed recently?
Yeah, consumer trend. One thing which is simple is India price sells. You think you need innovation, you need this, that. As long as the product works, it sells. That is one thing. Consumer trend, other thing is I don't know if you understand D2C sector too well, but this repeat customers is where people say they'll eventually make money, because you spend more money than your gross margins on your first order to acquire that customer. But the trend is customers very rarely come back. And you think people would come back a lot, but what has happened is anyone can start a brand, which means entry barrier is down, which means it's hyper competition. Earlier, D2C could disrupt the Unilevers of the world because they had access to distribution now. But now everyone can start, they're disrupting every other person. And it's really money being transferred from US pension funds to consumers in some way. So what happens is when you scale, you would think ad costs will come down. But that's not how it is. When you increase your ad budget, cost of getting a customer increases. Scale benefits don't exist in the Meta and Google worlds there. So I think that is one thing that people see. And eventually, to make money, you have to do offline from a mix point of view. And consumers value money over everything else. And sustainability is great, but mere liye kya hai is a final thing for the consumer. It is not, sustainability can be part of the mix. When we started the other company, it was called Unbottle because bottle was recycled. But I don't think, so she had to change the name to something else because that can be part of the proposition, but in LA, there might be some sect of people who would definitely go just because sustainability and pay 2x. But typically, I think in India and most markets, sustainability should be part of the mix because it's responsible, but you cannot oversell it. So price and over-indexing on sustainability, I think consumers don't care. But not being sustainable is different. It's like they say, if you have money, you might not be happy, but if you're poor, you're definitely going to be miserable. So you rather have money and try to be happy.
So we'll wrap up with just one final question from my side. On today, Rahul, it's all about how the businesses will sustain over the long term. People always say the long term, but today long term is very short term. So we will have to keep on innovating or pivoting at some point of time. Today, the word pivot is very important. What are the signs you will see as a pivoting point?
This is something I've heard. There are different signs. One thing I'll just say is pivoting or shutting down a business. I've heard George Alexander uncle say from Muthu. So if you're losing sleep for a lot of days continuously, maybe it's time to shut down or pivot. That is one way to look at it, which is probably what happened last 6 months back when I decided to not take up that acquisition. So I think what I look for is if either top line has to grow and profit is stagnant or degrowing is also okay, or profit has to grow or at least sustain. If one of these three things are not happening, profit is not sustaining, or top line is not growing, or profit is not growing, this is definite sign to figure out something else. Otherwise, if it's status quo, then it doesn't help. So I think remaining at the same level for a long period of time is probably time to figure out. And parallelly, you need not shut this down. You can parallelly try small experiments, and it should not matter if those things fail because it should be smaller punts.
So thank you, Rahul.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for having for this wonderful session, and thank you
for
so
having
much. Thank you guys for having us. Let's give a round of applause.